left over. And then they started the Gregorian calendar in the 8th century, so they kind of switched everything up. But we only have 2 more weeks of the quarantine here in the state of Florida. May 8th, we're going to be out. So it won't be long now. We're getting down to the wire. And the Blue Dragon Tribe is having a secret party on May 1st. We have the location. It's been confirmed, but we're not giving the location out till the last minute. So you have to remain engaged till we give you the exact location of the Blue Dragon Tribe Freedom Party. Freedom from negative thoughts, freedom from wrong thinking. So we're going to start momentarily. We're just waiting for some other people to chime in, and then we'll pull the trigger on Ask Dr. Love. So we're live on YouTube. We're soon to be live on Facebook.
Live on Facebook.
And pretty soon we're going to be live on Instagram. So this is the place where you get to ask questions. So over the weekend, we had a dozen people email me their questions. So we're going to pick 4 of those, and we're going to start the show off those 4 questions. And then you're free to chime in at any time with additional questions. Okay. All right, so
Set.
we're all set.
So, Dr. Love, can you please introduce the podcast?
So you are here, and I am here, and we are all ready to hear Ask Dr. Love. This is the show where you get to ask the questions about Asian medicine, acupuncture, herbal medicine, superfoods, nutrition, cooking questions, raw food questions, and your health. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have. If you are live, you can text your questions. If you're on your phone, you can text at Ask Dr. Love to 81010. And then when you get a reply, then you can type in your question. And as always, feel free to ask any personal question you have. If I can answer it on the air, I will answer it on the air. If not, I'll tell you to call me offline and we can make an appointment to see you. So, if love is the answer, what is your question? So the first question that came up was, what is yin and yang, and what do they have to do with the exercises that you teach on the online class? So, if you can see this is a yin yang. So what that means is within the greatest part of yang, there's a little bit of yin. And within the greatest part of yin, there's a little dot of yang. And what that means is there's no absolutes in nature. Everything is constantly transforming. That's why it's in a circle. So the implication that the yin transforms the yang transforms the yin. So it keeps evolving or revolving. So yin and yang have no meaning in and of themselves. So what that is the law of opposites. Thank you. Must always have my green tea or my juice. So, yang is hot, yin is cool. Yang is dry, yin is moist. Yang is aggressive. aggressive, yin is passive. Yang is contracting, yin is expanding. So there's this constant evolution, revolution of transforming. So when you catch a cold, you get a fever. So that's the body's way of reacting to heal itself. The body is a self-healing, transformative process, because if you were God and you wanted to invent human beings, would you invent them so they would be subject to breakdown and seeing doctors, or would you invent them so they would be self-repairing? So I already know you know the answer, which is why you're watching. So if we want to self-repair, then we need the self-repair manual, and Qigong is 98% of that Qigong manual. So what else is included in the manual? Well, number one is a philosophy of living. Number two is breathing and meditation. Number three is internal and external exercises that we call Qigong. 4 is foods, 5 is herbs, and 6 is self-massage. So those are all the components of the self-repair manual. Now, yin comes from the earth, yang comes from the sun. So human beings are a mix of yin and yang energy. So everything above the waist comes from the sun, which is yang. Everything below the waist comes from the earth, which is yin. Now, if we were a four-legged animal, then our bellies would be towards the ground, so your belly would be yin and your back would be yang. If you were standing in front of the sun at sunrise, then if you turned sideways and your left side was to the sun, that would be yang. And if you turned your right side towards the sun, then your right side would be yang and your left side would be yin. So it depends upon your orientation to heaven and earth and sun and sky as to how the external climateric conditions affect your internal. So what does that mean? If it's damp and it's windy, then the wind can drive the damp into your body. If it's hot and it's windy, the wind can drive the heat in your body. If it's hot and there's no wind, then the heat can drive the damp out of your body, creating an internal dryness. So there's a lot to just understanding the law of opposites, the yin and the yang. Now, the second question is, Dr. Love, you talk a lot about sub-health, and in particular, you talk about diabesity. What is diabetes, what's diabesity, and what is sub-health? That's the second question. Now, 5% of the population is sick. 5% of the population is healthy. 30% of the population is sick enough to see a doctor. So that's 35%. That leaves 65% not healthy, but not sick enough to see a doctor. So that's what we call sub-health. So when you go to a doctor, frequently they take your blood pressure. And they said, oh, you have hypertension. Now, the rule of the textbook is take the blood pressure 3 times in 24 hours and divide it. And then that will give you the average of blood pressure in a 24-hour period. But when you go to your doctor, they do not take it 3 times in a 24-hour period, because that means you'd have to come back the next day. The textbook also said you need to be lying down. You don't lie down in the doctor's office, you sit in a chair. The textbook always always do it on the left side because it's the side of the heart. But in reality, they'll take whatever side is available at the time. So your doctor's office does not always do it properly. And rarely will they take the ankle blood pressure. They usually only take the elbow blood pressure. Now, if your blood pressure is elevated more than 140 over 90, that is considered hypertension. And that was as of 2008. That was the 2008, 2009. That was the recommendation of the AMA. I just love green tea in the morning. So, the issue is, last year, 2019, they changed the parameters and they said if your blood pressure is higher than 120 over 80, that you had hypertension. So, what has happened in the last 10 years? Has your financial stress gone up or down? Has your emotional stress gone up or down? Has your political stress gone up or down? Has your living stress gone up or down in the last 10 years? Has your transportation stress gone up or down in the last 10 years? Well, financial stress is up, relationship stress is up, political stress is up, housing stress is up, transportation stress is up, and yet they want to lower the bar for high blood pressure. So our just living in general, we have higher stress, so why would you set the bar for hypertension lower than what it was 10 years ago? That doesn't make sense to me. So, is hypertension a disease? No, it's not a disease. It's a condition that could cause a disease. High blood sugar is diabetes. 100 should be your blood sugar upon awakening. Now, that's an arbitrary number that they pulled out, okay? They just made that number up. And if your blood sugar is consistently closer to 120, they say you have diabetes. But diabetes is not a disease. Diabetes will eventually cause kidney failure and liver failure. So the complications of diabetes is what causes you to get sick and causes you to die prematurely, not the diabetes. So diabetes is also not a disease. It is a sub-health condition. Now, in Western medicine, their go-to, their default is to write a prescription. I have lots of friends that are medical doctors, and they say, George, you're always trashing us. You're always making us look bad. We only write the prescriptions because they insist on getting the prescription. When we tell them they don't need a prescription, they say, you don't want to take care of me. I'll go get another doctor. So my response is, you are that money driven that you can't be honest and you're going to blame the patient for demanding a prescription? I can't speak for all doctors, but I'll let you be the judge of that. So, something called osteopenia, which is bone thinning. So as you get older and you stop exercising and your hormones diminish because your diet is not as good as it should be, then guess what? Your bones are going to get thin. Now, why do you think taking a drug is going to make your bones thicker and more robust when all you have to do is actually exercise? Wow. So osteopenia is bone thinning. Osteoporosis is like you hit a really low level of bone thinning. Again, not a disease. Then there's something called sarcopenia, which is muscle wasting. So I've got a bunch of friends who were bodybuilders. They were into looking good. And then once they hit 65, 70, then all of a sudden their muscles started to waste. So they run to the doctor and they're like, my muscles, I'm exercising, I'm taking vitamins, my muscles are. It's not a disease, guys. You don't need size to have strength. What you need is growth hormone. And I can show you all the ways that you can increase your growth hormone. Naturally, not artificially. So there's a lot of things out there that doctors are trying to make a living. I am not anti-doctor. I'm against the current Western medical approach. It's not healthcare, it's managing sickness. And I don't think I should be condemned, because I'm not condemning them. They're trying to make a living. They're doing the best they can. I don't blame doctors. I blame the system for making it about money and not really about helping people prevent illness, because that's what I do. I am not alternative medicine. I am not complementary medicine. I am traditional medicine, and they are conventional medicine. So if you want traditional over conventional, I'm your guy. So SubHealth is all these different conditions, and we have courses. Once you go to lovechigong.com, join the tribe, then you'll get a heads up, a calendar of all the classes that are going to be coming up. So I can't teach it all at once, but I've been teaching it for years, and we've got courses. So we're going to do a little questionnaire once a week. What courses would you like to see? Which courses would you enroll in? Okay. So Eddie, can you read the third question?
Somebody asked another question. Okay. How do you naturally trigger growth hormone?
Aha, that is a course. But the short answer is fasting triggers growth hormone. So if you do a 7-day juice feast, you will absolutely trigger growth hormone.
What is the purpose of the Earth cycle, and how does it fit in with the Blue Dragon Qigong training?
Okay, so you may have heard of something called microcosmic orbit. And the way I teach it is I teach it in two parts. One is called the heaven cycle, the other is called the earth cycle. So the earth cycle is, there's a pulsed electromagnetic field of the earth. And so the bottom of your foot, kidney 1, literally absorbs the electromagnetic radiation of the earth, the PEMF, and then brings it up the leg and brings it all the way up to the collarbone, and that's the kidney meridian. So the earth cycle is to pull it up, pull the energy up to the belly button. And kidney 16 is 2 fingers to the outside of the belly button. And then we transfer the energy from the front to the back, and then we bring the energy down the back of the leg. So we're pulling the energy up the front, through to the back, and down the back of the leg. That's called the earth cycle. And that is half of the microcosmic orbit. I'm so well taken care of by the Blue Dragon tribe. So we do that every morning. If you join the online class, then you'll get a chance to have that experience. And by the way, we started Chi Cups today. If you were in the class this morning and you experienced Chi Cups for the first time, I would really love to hear your comment about how the Chi Cups went. And we got some new music for you starting tomorrow. Okay. All right.
And how does pollution affect heaven and earth energies? Is there a way to counteract negative effects? Can you repeat the question?
Okay, so the fourth question was, how does pollution affect heaven and earth energies, and is there a way to counteract that? That's such a great question. Okay, so obviously there's air pollution, there's water pollution, and there is soil pollution. So air and water is a lot easier to conceptualize and visualize. So there's industrial waste, there's carbon emissions from automobiles, factories, all put stuff in the atmosphere. Aerosols, you name it. How does that affect the heavenly energy? If you pick the time of day, which we do, which is at sunrise, an hour before to an hour after sunrise, the air pollution is mitigated. It obviously gets worse in the middle of the day. So that's why we do it an hour before to an hour after sunrise. That is the best time to do it. The next best time to do it is at midnight. Well, there's no sun. How can you receive heavenly energy at midnight? Well, the sun still reflects off of other bodies. That's number one. And number two, there's the moon. And number three, there's Alpha Centauri, which is the nearest star. I call it the star of Isis. Isis being our heavenly mother. So if you're out at midnight, you can literally receive heaven's blessing and heaven's energy. So midnight and sunrise are the two best times to mitigate air pollution. Now, soil pollution. There is electromagnetic radiation from power lines, from computers, from cell phones, from TVs, from work environments. All these things are electromagnetically radiating into our bodies. Qigong itself reverses electromagnetic radiation damage. So if you do Qigong on a regular basis, you will mitigate any type of electromagnetic radiation, which I think is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, I have a thing on my phone. You should have a thing on your phone. Your computer should be at least 8 to 12 inches away from you. Okay, your monitor should be at least a foot away from you to mitigate that. And you shouldn't have like 3 monitors and 3 computers in an enclosed space. So that's how you mitigate pollution from heaven and earth. Okay. So how's everybody doing on their fast? Is anybody on day 9, day 10?
Somebody asked you what are the juices you should be doing during the fast?
So 50% celery, 25% carrot, 25% beet, a piece of ginger, and a piece of turmeric. So that should be the juice that you should drink while you're on your 7-day juice feast. You should do 4 of those a day. So celery cleans out the plaque out of the blood. Beets restores the mineral content. Beets are what we call chelated minerals. That means they're in the right ratio that you need to absorb them. And carrots have vitamin A, which increase night vision, which means that it increases blood circulation to the smallest blood vessels in the eye. Ginger is a natural scrubber of the blood. So we want to add ginger in there. It cleans out the entire digestive system. And then lastly, turmeric is a natural cardiotonic, hepatotonic, cancer preventive, and adaptogenic and immunogenic. It's got a lot of different properties. And turmeric is 50% of the ingredients of curry powder. So I did all the talking today. I was hoping somebody would chime in with some information to share.
It's Ask Dr. Love.
If love is the answer, what is your question? Now is your time to ask
Well,
Dr. Love.
Well, we've came to the end of it. It's 26. It's 11:26.
Okay. Well, I want to thank everybody for listening and watching. Please share. You can go to anchor.fm/AskDrLove if you want to hear the archive shows or any of your regular podcasts, Radio Play, Spotify, or iTunes. If you're already on their podcast schedule, you can just click Ask Dr. Love and it'll be added to your list and you can listen to past shows. These are short, real 20, 30-minute podcasts just to drop pearls of wisdom, not to take up your whole day, because I know people are spending a lot of time online. So you can listen to this. You don't have to watch it video. I appreciate that you do watch it live. I really, really appreciate that. Because my father always said, son, you've got a face made for radio. And I never knew what he meant by that because we looked alike. Anyway, prevention is the only cure. Your health is in your hands. In order to be well, you've got to breathe well. I'm Dr. George Xavier Love for Ask Dr. Love. You can email your questions through any of the DRQI, LOVE, Dr. Chi Love on Instagram, Dr. Chi Love on YouTube, and Dr. Chi Love on Facebook. You can type your questions in, and then we'll answer them tomorrow, unless you do it live. Eddie, any last words?